everyone, everywhere, and special greetings to all those seated in heavenly places in Jesus, our Messiah. The name of this broadcast is Cross the Border, and this is our Prophecy Reality Edition. And we're live. It's on a Wednesday morning. I really don't have an agenda today, so I've got some news items. Hopefully some questions or comments will be coming from the chat room. I've had some people emailing me and saying, when are you going live? Well, so I emailed them back, and I posted on my site that I am live now, even though I really don't have a whole lot to say in the way of prophecy. But I've been spending the summer more or less studying and reading, because it's just really been too hot in my studio to do anything else, to go live. I mean, if I have to sit here and sweat at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. in 95 degree heat inside my studio, that's not really good, because the air conditioner is so loud I can't do a live broadcast while it's on. So it's either suffer or not. But the summer is finally over. The weather's cooling down, and I'm enjoying it. It really is nice to be able to go outside and do something without having to suffer in 105 during the day. Anyway, enough about why I haven't been here all summer and why I do this every summer. I take a hiatus. Like I said, I just spend more time researching and reading and honing up on my knowledge of history and prophecy. So if anyone listening has any comments, questions, wanted to participate in the show, now is the time. There is a call-in number, or you can also, I think you can Skype me too. Yeah, Skype me at Far Live. It should pop up on the screen, and I should be able to push some pots up to get you on the air, or on TeamSpeak, if you have TeamSpeak. Most people don't, though. But I know one of my regular listeners does. That's Smoke, because he uses TeamSpeak to do a show here 1 hour on Sunday evenings. And I don't know how many people are aware of that, but he doesn't promote it or anything like that. So probably most people on Earth don't know that he exists. And that's fewer people that don't even know I exist. I hear about all this shadow banning and stuff like that, and I think, yeah, something's going on here. My YouTube channel is shadow banned on YouTube, as we're broadcasting live 24/7 practically, except for this hour, because I'm doing video on my channel, Prophecy Reality channel. So I do it exclusively during these 2 hours, but pretty much 24/7. Broadcasting live on YouTube. But you go to YouTube and you put in live broadcast, guess which one is not listed anywhere? That would be First Amendment Radio. It's never live according to YouTube, but it's live 24/7. So we do pick up a few listeners that way, but I don't know how. They must go to our channel or something, or like I said, but we're not listed as a live show, even though we're live. Okay, well, enough of that. What do I have for you? Let's see. Yes, the HSLDA, that's it, HSLDA, another acronym out there for your Homeschool Legal Defense Association. They printed an article here, and I found it very telling. Perhaps not for the reasons, or maybe for the reasons that they published it. But public schooling is a pet peeve of mine. Anyway, let me jump into this article. State education officials have asked a Michigan public school district to return $1.2 million that was previously awarded for students enrolled part-time in their homeschool partnership program. And that's becoming a thing throughout the whole country. Homeschool partnership programs with the public school. So you can get free. There's nothing free, and we're going to get to that point. But anyway, you can get free homeschooling program on the computer with teachers that I guess grade you, and the public school does it. They give you a homeschooling program over the internet, basically. Okay, it's basically is really what it is. It's public school over the internet. The district also stands to lose an additional $700,000 in anticipated funds. You go, what's going on here? Why is this important? The request, which came at the end of July, places the program's future in doubt. The Record Eagle, we're talking about Michigan, that's my birth state. Okay, that's where I was born and lived my childhood in the great state of Michigan. Beautiful country. Anyway, the Record Eagle reported that the Northern Michigan Partnership Program, operated as a part of Traverse City Area Public Schools, has been ordered to return the funds over a dispute regarding how the district tallied enrollment in the virtual program. Michigan's homeschool partnerships have raised questions in the past. And anyway, more questions. It seems that the programs are now attracting further scrutiny. According to the Record Eagle, the state deputy superintendent said that the Michigan Department of Education is looking at 10 similar programs. Apparently, the MDE believes that the local schools have pocketed extra funds by overcalculating the partnership program's enrollment. In other words, let's put it in plain English for everyone. In other words, the school districts are stealing money from the state by claiming more money for the program than they're allowed to claim. They're stealing. I mean, they're thieves to begin with. The whole public system, the whole public school program system is theft. And I've stated this before, that I believe that Christians working in public school, in the public school system, are engaged in theft with the government, as all, whether they're Christian or not. But see, Christians aren't supposed to be engaged and participate in government theft. Not when it's voluntary, and it is voluntary, because you go out here, and the Christian schools in my area have closed down because they can't compete. The teachers make twice as much in the public system with benefits and everything, probably more than twice as much, as their counterparts in private Christian education. So you have to be really dedicated to participate in private education, because you're going to make less than half, likely, than what you make in the public school. So you can see why people gravitate toward the public school system, because of the money. Yeah, they do it for money. Yeah, that's right. So all the Christians, shut up and follow the program. All you Christian teachers out there, shut up. There you're getting paid off. And the whole program, the whole public school system is nothing but theft anyway. But let's go on with the article, and I'm going to drive this point home. And, my apologies, not really, to all those so-called Christian public school teachers out there. My apologies to you if you're offended. I'm sorry that you're offended. There you go. But you should be offended at what you've done for all these years, where you sold your soul to the state. Anyway, the Traverse City Homeschool Partnership Program had counted each... Oh, this is it. Just pay attention now. The MD official suggests that each student enrolled in a virtual program should count as 0.15, 15% of what they're getting paid for actual physical public schools. They have the buildings, they have the babysitters, the teachers in there, and they sit in class for 6 hours a day or whatever. The students are gone from home for up to 8 hours a day or more. Perhaps 6, perhaps a half a day, depending on the grade and whatever. But they're supposed to get 15% of what they get for a full-time student, for someone participating in a virtual educational program. Okay? The rest of that cost, the other 85%, is for buildings and babysitting. Okay? But the schools were charging, this is why they have to refund the money, the schools were charging 75%, only a 25% discount. So, and basically, they weren't following the guidelines. They were stealing. And why not? You live in a culture of theft. The whole public socialist school system is a system of theft. And so it's ingrained in the system, so who's surprised when these people are stealing? And they don't put it that way in this article, that they were, but that's what it is. It's theft. The public school districts were stealing from the government coffers. Okay. Now, the Traverse City Homeschool Partnership Program had counted each student at 0.75, 75% of a live student in a building. So, Michigan's FTE per pupil funding is just under $10,000. So let's just round it off to $10,000. They get $10,000 per student. Some districts are higher, some are less, but we can round it out. That's $10,000 per student per year. Now they're supposed to get 15% of that? Would that be, 10% would be $1,000. So it would be $1,500 per student for the virtual homeschool program. So here's the gist of it for you, is that I can lose my property that I've labored my life for. I can lose my home because if I don't pay the babysitting bill of $8,500 per student, if I don't pay my share per the value of my property in my state, and this goes for every state, for the babysitting for these parents who want to send their children off so they can do whatever the heck they want all day long, whether some of them actually work, but they don't have to pay for that babysitting. Meanwhile, I sent my children to private Christian school or outright homeschooled them myself. And I still have to pay for the babysitting of other people's children under the threat of the loss of my life, my property, under the threat and duress of violence. And that makes me angry. And it's made me angry for years. And here we have this going on in the public sphere just to verify everything I've been saying all these years. The public school system is nothing but communist socialism. And all of those people participating in it should be ashamed of themselves, especially if you call yourself a Christian. For the world out there, what do they care? Theft is okay by law, and because their God is the state, because they worship the beast. That's what worshiping the beast means. It means that the state is your highest authority. The state is your law. The state is your God. There's nothing higher than the state. So you worship the beast. And that's what the world does, so they can get away with that. But Christians shouldn't be doing that. And it does make me mad. I'm supposed to be in the land of the free. And to think that I could lose my home because I can't afford to pay, or why should I labor to pay for other people's babysitting service? Because they admit here, and this is across every other state in the union, not just Michigan. Michigan is where the controversy is right now, that they can do one student for $1,500 each virtually. And probably make a pretty good, I could make, if I had 1,000 students at $1,500, and I would adopt that like a teacher right now, here, follow the program. It's already been recorded on the computer. We got virtual teachers, virtual classroom. You got to buy the books. No, it's all done virtually. You don't have to buy nothing. It all shows up on your computer screen. And then all someone has to do is verify. You don't need a degree to verify facts on a computer and check them off. Now, if the teacher is allowing calls or, whatever, or texting at certain times with a student, well, then maybe they could get paid $1,500 per student. I could see where there could be some cost incurred there. So I see a future where all the public schools are shut down. All of these babysitting centers, because that's all they are now, is babysitting centers. Let the parents stay home and babysit their own children, or let them hire, or let them pay the babysitting fee of $8,500 a year themselves. That's a bargain for babysitting. Oh, that's per student. That could start to add up if you have a few children, couldn't it? So I'm hoping in the future, but it's like this. Even if they cut off the public school, I mean, this should be a good case to take the public school system out of the property taxes, because it is the major part of the property taxes. Now, for like, what else do we have included in our property taxes? There's some like utility district projects for water and sewer that might be in there. Okay, there's like the sheriff's department. If you have a sheriff's department in your and if your local government, you have local taxes that are collected by cities that you're in for services they provide. Now, all of those are on top of your regular state. See, I live in a county, and so basically it's whatever county government costs that are added to the state costs and the public school costs that they add to the property taxes. I, for one, don't think there should be any property taxes at all. I don't think anyone should be in fear of losing their property over inability to pay taxes. It should be, I like what the Constitution called for. That all of the states, the state governments, and see, there was supposed to be no direct tax between the federal government and the people. There was supposed to be a gap there. If you want to put a gap somewhere, it was supposed to be between the individual and the federal government. The federal government was never supposed to have anything to do with the individuals. We're supposed to be free from things public. Res libera, whatever it is, whatever the Latin was for that. Res publica libera, or something like that. Free from things public. And that's what we were supposed to be. There was supposed to be this buffer between us, and that buffer was our state governments. And that goes back, that now leads us to the 17th Amendment to the Constitution, something I don't believe ever could have really happened. I don't believe that it was ever a real thing that happened, like the 13th Amendment. I believe both the 13th Amendment and the 17th Amendment were never really legally ratified, because it would require the states to ratify the 17th Amendment. But the states would never do that. Ever. Why would the states ratify? Why would the states give up all of their power in the federal government? And that 1/3 of the branch of the federal government, the states had ruling power in the Senate. Because each state government selected 2 representatives from their state, and they could pick those any way they want. They could go by popular vote in their state if they wanted, but that wasn't allowed. That wasn't required, but the state set 2 representatives to the federal government to sit in the Senate. 17th Amendment says, nope, states, you don't get to select your representatives anymore, state governments. We're going to allow your people to select them for you. So they became super congressmen. We already had congressmen, 1 for every district, 1 for every so many people. Okay, that was the Congress. So every district of so many people would get a member in the Congress. And the states would get to select 2 members. The state governments got to select. The legislature from each state got to select 2 members to go to the Senate to represent the state's interests. That particular states. And the 50 states would have their Senate. But we don't have that anymore. We have congressmen, and then we have the Senate, that was changed by the 17th Amendment, and instead of being senators, because they're no longer senators, now they're super congressmen. Yeah, you have regular congressmen, then you have super congressmen, all by popular vote. So I can't even believe that this is probably news to a lot of people. But yeah, I don't believe that either the 17th Amendment or the 13th Amendment were ever ratified. And there's a document out there, and I forget what it's called, by research that someone did on the 13th Amendment. Just look up, was the 13th Amendment ever ratified? And I'm sure that document will show up. It was a book or something that someone put together way back in the 90s. But we seem to have forgot all these things since then. And then, we have, speaking of 9/11, that's the date today. Today is November 11th, 2019. And here we are 18 years removed from the big event that changed the world. I remember where I was that day. I was in my living room on my ranch out in Ducor, California, in the southern Sierra foothills here. And I was had the TV on, and the news was on, and I'm seeing this thing going on, and I'm going, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I thought this was a trailer for a movie or something. And once I realized that was real, I was by myself, but I remember the words that came out of my mouth, because words came out of my mouth at that point. And the words were, "This changes everything." That was the first thought, the three words that came out of my mouth when I saw and I realized that what I saw on the TV screen was real. I said to myself, "This changes everything." And indeed it did change everything. Because since then because of that, I have lost my right as an American citizen to travel on an airplane. Can you believe that? Okay, well, perhaps we'll talk more about that. Your calls, comments. I'm in the chat room at FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Go to FirstAmendmentRadio.net.com and join me in the chat room. I only have a few people in there. Would like some questions, comments, calls. There's a number in the upper right-hand corner. You can call in if you would like to join the program, or you can Skype Far Live. I think I can get you on the air if we do that. So Skype me at Far Live or call the number there at the chat room at FirstAmendmentRadio.net. You're listening to Nicholas Arthur on Cross the Border, our Prophecy Reality Edition. And we'll talk more about 911 when we come back from these messages. Don't go anywhere.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Welcome back. Yes, may the Almighty bless each and every one of you. Thank you for showing up for the broadcast today. There's a few people in the chat room. Need some comments or questions if I'm going to do 2 hours of this. If I'm going to do 2 hours, I'd like to spend like the last hour just talking about prophecy, but I'm going to need some help there. Otherwise, I got a whole table full of books here. I can pick one up and start thumbing through it if that's what I have to do. But for this segment, we spent the first segment talking about the public school system and what a ripoff it is. And it's actually just a public babysitting service that hopefully maybe we can bring a challenge. Someone could bring a challenge into the court system to do away with public property taxes paying for public schools or paying for babysitting services. I'm sorry. I don't think it's a great idea, and I think the public school teachers have been on the gravy train for too long. Sorry to say it, but and I think the churches need to stand up now and get their game on and start opening up schools in the churches for their children. I mean, the Islams do it. You know, the Islamics do. They got their, what do they call their schools, all over America now, where they're radicalizing their youth, but we can't, we can't teach our children. We can't get our churches together in our towns and start public schools that will stick to just biblical doctrine and education, and where you could pay. I mean, what did I pay per month? I don't know. It was like a couple $100 a month when I had my child, my daughter, who's just turned 18 this year, and still with me. It wasn't that much, a couple $100 a month, and that was actually to put her in the classroom for 6 hours a day. Yeah, and they need $10,000 a year, and I was paying like $250 a month. What does that add up to? $3,000 a year? Yeah, per student. And they had to shut down eventually. I guess they couldn't sustain it, or I don't know why that school shut down, but it did. It's gone. And then so I started homeschooling after that. And but I've homeschooled before. I've had other children. Plus I have grandchildren. They're all homeschooled. So why am I paying to babysit other people's children? People who are being radicalized in aberrant lifestyles in a public school madrasa. That's what they call them, madrasas or something. These are public madrasas where they radicalize people in paganism and every other abominable thing on earth. And I have to pay for that? That's an abomination. That's reprehensible to me. Anyway, we're going to talk about 9/11 a little bit, I guess. And I was listening to another broadcaster, and he says, he's going through some statistics, and he says, 85% of millennials are still living at home with their parents. That is horrendous. That's just awful. And I'm thinking, millennials, aren't those people who were born since the year 2000? Shouldn't 85% of them be living at home with their parents? Perhaps more than that. Well, you could be 18 years old. Yeah. Not 19, because that was 2001, right? Oh, I'm thinking about 9/11. But anyway, went on to say that all of the children in public school were now born after 9/11 happened. And some of them were just, for the last few years, some of them were just babies. So now they're saying that in the public schools, we're still in public schools. They're going to have a moment of silence over 9/11 so that they never forget. Well, how can you forget what you never remembered? Something you never saw or understood. That way, see, they can indoctrinate them with the government-sponsored narrative that they've attached to 9/11. Since when I have lost a lot of rights, especially my right to travel on an airplane. Yeah, that's right. Because of 9/11, I cannot travel on an airplane. Even though if they allowed me to travel on an airplane, they'd make me take off my shoes, pat me down, x-ray my entire body, but somehow they're still afraid of me because of 9/11. Somehow I am a threat that I can't even get on an airplane since 9/11. We have lost so many liberties. And that's because I'm not a socialist. I'm not a card-carrying socialist. I refuse to participate in socialism. I have repented because when you sign up for the number, when you sign up for Social Security, you are signing a contract. You are giving an oath to participate in something that is a violation of God's law. Me, I can't do it. Perhaps you can, but I can't, because each one of us have to answer to God. So let us all be convinced in our own minds where we stand and what we're doing, that, but let's not be deceived, really. And some people say, well, I paid in. Well, I paid in too. Yeah. That they stole from me. So now I have a right to participate in theft and what they're going to steal from future or current generations because they stole from me in the past. They didn't save the money for me. You should have saved money for yourself, okay? So I'm how old? Born in 1953. Figure it out, okay? I could be collecting. I have a retarded adult son that lives with me. He's 41 years old, I think. Okay? He could be collecting, but he's not. Of course, I'd have to go down and collect for him. But I can't, because it's theft. Okay? It's theft. If God can't take care of me, and I have to die of hunger, well, then so be it. If I would rather live on the street and beg than participate in government-sponsored theft, and to participate in social communism. I would rather suffer want. And it's likely to happen. But what did David write? I've never seen the righteous begging for bread. David said something like that. I've never seen the righteous go without or begging for bread. You know what? I'll take David's word on it. I'll take God's word. He said he would take care of me. He said, seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, and all of the things that you need in this life will be added to you. So I've been doing this for 25 years. I repented, left it behind 25 plus years ago, and all I've done is lost, because now they've turned rights into privileges. It's like a couple days ago, 2 days ago, was it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. No, it was this week. I can't remember what day it was now. What day was that? I think it was last Thursday. A few days ago, last Thursday. I went to a neighboring town to go to my oral surgeon to have my implant checked out, because I'm getting a new tooth here. And he said, okay, you're ready, and I can get your tooth. So I'm traveling back in my private automobile on the highway between that town and this town, and I got stopped by the highway patrol. And of course I don't have a driver's license because the state won't give me one unless I participate in socialism. But since there's no law that requires me to be a socialist and be a card-carrying socialist and have a Social Security number, therefore, I must not be required to have a driver's license. And I found that to be true. So the very nice gentleman stops me in my automobile. I pull over off the road as far as I can, so I don't want to obstruct anyone else. And he says, well, you don't have a license plate, and that's why I stopped you. He says, can I see your registration and driver's license and proof of insurance? And I said, I don't have any of those things, but I can give you what I have. Okay. So I pull out my travel papers, which is a legal document, telling them why, my legal position, why I'm out there, and I'm not one of theirs. And I gave them an outdated passport because they won't give me a new one anymore. I got my last passport without a Social Security number. And so I gave them that, and I didn't have any registration, but there's the VIN was on the dashboard up there where you could read it. I told them where it was registered and the address, because it was my late wife's car. It was registered in her name, so it would show up. And so I gave him her name and the address, and then he verified all that. And I told him why. I says, look, I'm not a socialist. I don't have a Social Security number. They won't give me a driver's license. He says, okay, well, we can't just let you out here. We can't just let you go, he says to me. And I said, oh, okay. And he starts walking back to his police car after I give him my information and my passport and all that stuff. And he's walking back to the car, and I yell at him. I says, hey, I got a dentist appointment at 11 o'clock. So he turns around, walks back to me. He says, oh, okay, well, we'll be done by then. He just got done telling me that he couldn't just let me go on the road. But see, I knew something, that he was going to let me go. He went back to his car, made some calls, had a conversation with his higher up, and he had to change. He actually was writing out a ticket before he got the call back that he couldn't ticket me for not having a driver's license. So he crossed that out on the ticket. I've got the ticket. And they have a correctable offense and non-correctable. So it said misdemeanor, and it's not correctable, and he crossed it out and the misdemeanor. So he wasn't going to get me for not having a driver's license, because it's an impossibility. They won't give me one. I have no tickets. He says, do you have any other tickets? I said, no, I've never got a ticket. And there's no warrants for me. I've ever been arrested? No, I've never been charged with a crime in my life. And so he did put on there that no registration, but he put in there not correctable. He says, okay, well, here, sign here. This just means you don't have to appear. It just means that I gave you this. Said, okay, so I've got that ticket. Requires me to do nothing, go nowhere, correct nothing at all. That he just gave it to me. So now they got a record that I was on the road. Yeah. And so I went my merry way. And I did make my dentist appointment. Yeah. But I can't get on a plane, so that kind of makes me mad. And all because of 911. A government-planned operation. I don't believe that anyone was in the planes that actually hit the towers. A lot of funny business there going on, and the several other planes, and the one that disappeared into the Pentagon. It all went into that little hole. Yeah, I believe that was a missile that hit the Pentagon, not a plane. Because a missile could disappear into a hole. And it did. But no plane, no 747 disappeared into that hole, into the Pentagon. And then there's Building 7, that some 5 hours later, from a little itty-bitty fire, completely collapsed. So we had 3 controlled demolition buildings. Every one. And you know what? People really did die that day. Everyone who wasn't warned to stay away. A few people were warned to stay away. I'm sure that those that had their hand in it were nowhere near that building on that day. So all those people were murdered by somebody. And I'm going to say the shadow government. I'm going to say the top echelon of the shadow government would be the Antichrist and his shadow government. Yes, his counter-Reformation army. And anything that smacks of the truth. Yeah. The Antichrist does rule the world, and we discuss that all the time. And I know it sounds crazy to people coming, if you're listening to this program for the first time, you're going, that's crazy. Especially Christians. I mean, it surprises me that Christians will listen to me, and they'll think, that guy is crazy. He believes the Antichrist, and everyone knows that we can't know who the Antichrist is until they build the 7th temple and he walks in there. We can't know until then. So how can he be talking about the Antichrist ruling the world? Well, it's because I spent this summer reading the entire history of Protestantism, okay? And I just finished it. So I'm back here. I'm finally done reading it. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read each chapter, one chapter at a time. Then I'm going to narrate it on video and on the screen to you, my listeners, and to anyone else. And we're going to do at least a B production of it, because I don't have facilities to do A production. I don't have the money or facilities lined up here to do it. But what a read. I mean, just blows my mind. I mean, there were times that I wept reading this history. And there were times I just wondered and go, how could these people, especially the last couple hundred years in the English, the British Isles and France and surrounding, all of that area, Spain to the Netherlands, including Germany, that Western European theater, all that went on there in the last couple hundred years, especially with the focal point being, the British Isles, the Scottish Covenanters and the Irish, and how they vacillated, went back and forth in extremes, from liberty to bondage to liberty to bondage, back and forth. The vacillations were just horrendous, and I'm thinking, how could these people let this happen? How could they have liberty and let it slip? And then it would come back. And then finally, the saga ends with the William of Orange, the second William of Orange. The first one was William of Orange, or William the Silent, they called him. And finally, Great Britain became Protestant. And with no more of those vacillations afterwards, because of the humbling of the beast, or the head of the beast, that wound that occurred about the time of the French Revolution leading into the 19th century. Those vacillations stopped, and the Antichrist went to different tactics with its shadow government, and it's still operating under those different tactics today, where it's hidden behind the scenes and very sneaky. They have their people in every government in the world. You wonder about Jeffrey Epstein. There's a lot of that going on. Who is running that operation? Who's really at the head of it? Of course, the Antichrist and his shadow government. They want to blame it on the Jews or blame it on the banksters, but, it's the Antichrist banking powers. I mean, do you believe you're a Christian? Do you believe in the book of Revelation? Do you actually believe that the Antichrist at the end time is going to own the monetary system of the world and have it so tightly grasped in his hand that he can require everyone to have a mark to buy or sell or trade? No, not trade, sorry. To buy or sell. So read Revelation 13. You have to have the mark to buy or sell in the Antichrist monetary system. That's what it boils down to. You have to have a mark or the name or the number. It's not one or the other. Everyone's looking, they're waiting to get chipped. Okay? So, well, when I get chipped, then when they require me to get chipped, then I'll know. No. You already have the mark. The chip is just the mode. Don't mistake the mode for the mark. Now, you could take your smartphone and wave it. Or you could use a chip. Or you might use a card. All the cards have chips in them now, don't they? You could tap your iPhone or your Android on whatever device, or you might enter your identification mark number on a keyboard. It doesn't matter. That's the mode. That's how you access your account. The mode is not the mark. The mark is the identifier. The beast is the government. It's the mark of the beast. It's government identification. And that's why I said no so many 25 years ago to the Social Security number, because I'm going, well, they're requiring this number to buy and sell in their monetary system. That's the mark of the beast. And if it's not, it certainly seems like it is. It meets all of the criteria. And of course, in America, it's a Social Security number. In Great Britain, it's the NENO, or the European number. It's the same thing everywhere you go. You just call it a different thing in different countries and different spheres of the world. But that's what it is. 911 was an inside job. Research it for yourself. Check out architects and engineers for 911. Just put 911 architect in your search engine, and you find those guys, architects and engineers for 911. Go through all of their stuff. Look at all of the videos. Look at all of the studies. These people are not idiots. It's not just a conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact. See, because the only way that it could have happened that way and not be a conspiracy theory is if the government said, hey, we're going to blow up these buildings just to put everyone in line. Then it would be fact. It wouldn't require a conspiracy. But because they're not telling you the truth, because they're doing everything they can to hide. But you know what? You can't hide the truth. The truth is out there for everyone to see. And if anyone wants to see it, especially all you millennials who are still living with your parents, like I said, I hope so, because most millennials are under the age of 18. Yeah. So they should be still living with their parents. And when they grow up and don't go out and get married, they should serve their parents until they get married, until God calls them to do something else. And don't send your children to the college. It's bad enough that you send them, that they went through public schools. If they survive that and they're still Bible-believing Christians, well, you've done something. You can top it off by sending them to these universities now. But hey, who can afford that anymore? I'm glad they're pricing themselves out of the market. What I'm not glad about is that's more socialism that the government's paying for. And these people are going into debt, and that means that they get to raise the prices, because anytime the government pays for it, you can raise the prices on it. If there was no government support, no government loans for education, these schools could only charge 1/10 of what they're charging. Yeah, if money was still gold and silver, if we actually owned our money, because that's what, in a free country, people own their money. Not in America. Those Federal Reserve notes are not yours. But when the money was gold and silver, you could actually own your money. When you had it in your pocket, it was yours. That's right. It was your money. You could do whatever you want with it, but you owned the money. The value was in it. Now you own nothing. You don't even own your money anymore. Now, the epitome of which is digital. Check out my my book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. And if you check out Chapter 12, that is Chapter 12 on the Mark of the Beast, you might want to check that out. You can get that online. Go to my website, crosstheborder.org. There's a free ebook tab there. And so, The Economist magazine, the article, it starts out there. And then we have Chapter 12, which is the Mark of the Beast. So you want to check that out. Looks like I'm going into a break, and I will be back. It seems like I can keep talking and find something to talk about, even if no one calls in. So I'll see you after some news. Don't go anywhere.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.